Hey guys, welcome back to the main event. Daniel, and yeah, this week going back to the NWA. We're going to be doing Bunkhouse Stampede. So we're heading back to January 24th, 1988. We're at the Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale, New York, from about 6,000 fans. And yeah, the main event this evening is the Bunkhouse Stampede Finals. I'll be honest with you, the Bunkhouse Stampede, much like the Wrestling Classic, was a very curious pay-per-view to me. I'm just talking about myself personally. But, you know, I remember looking at the Wrestling Almanac, because once again, I studied that thing cover to cover. And I just remember seeing the pay-per-view there, and the first thing that struck me as odd is, like, you know, there's only one pay-per-view. That's all there was. There's only been one Bunkhouse Stampede. Now, they've had two events prior to that, but they weren't pay-per-views. But I didn't know at the time. I was like, so this is a one-off deal or whatever. But then, of course, the match itself, they don't really explain rules in the almanac. It just kind of gives you the quick little, you know, results. So it just said, like, you know, Dusty Rhodes wins the Bunkhouse Stampede, last eliminated Barbarian. That's all it said. And I was like, what the fuck's a Bunkhouse Stampede? Like, it intrigued me. And because I was like thinking, because, you know, I knew what a Bunkhouse Brawl was. You know, it was just like a redneck hardcore match, pretty much. You know, they just had all the farm-type weapons, you know. Bull rope and barbed wire and horseshoes and cowbells and branding irons and boots and spurs and shit like that. So, I was, like, you know, in my mind, I was piecing together. I was like, well, what could a Bunkhouse Stampede be where you win by last eliminating somebody? So, initially, I thought, like, maybe a gauntlet. Like, maybe it was, like, two guys would be in the ring, and it was a bunkhouse brawl, and then you beat somebody, and another one comes out, and you just kind of go through the list until the list is gone. And then I was like, well, it could be a battle royal, just, you know, all these weapons are thrown in there, and just toss your opponent over the rope. And so when I found out it was a battle royal, but with a twist, a battle royal with a cage, I was like, what? Like, that's freaking awesome. And this is a young Daniel talking about this. So I was super pumped, because I'm a big battle royal fan, and in a cage, so it just kind of adds to it. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to watch it for the longest time. And when I did finally get around to watching it, you know, at this point, the smarkiness is already kind of set in. And I was watching it with my NWA cousin. And it always infuriated me with him because, you know, I told you before, like, you know, the difference between the cage matches in WWF and NWA, how he would stand behind the NWA's cage matches. He's like, no, WWF cage matches is way too gimmicky. That whole escape bullshit, no. And then turn around and defend matches like the Bunkhouse Stampede, or, you know, the Ready to Rumble cage, or the Electrified cage, or whatever, Chamber of Horrors. He would defend them like, no, like, oh, that's okay, that's different. Those are different, but the WWF, fuck that, it's too gimmicky. So when I watched it with him, I was just set to sink it. So I wasn't watching it in the right frame of mind. I was just watching it in spite. And I was just trying to, like, make fun of it because I knew he liked it. So, if you would have asked me before I reshot this, or when I shot this video, when I rewatched it, I would have probably given it a pretty negative review. I was like, fun. But I rewatched it, unbiased. I'm sitting, you know, like, here we go. And, yeah, pleasantly surprised. So let's get into it. Let's do the build-up first. Now, I'm not sure how this all goes down. And by all means, correct me down below, because I really don't know, and I really don't care enough to search and look it up. But to my knowledge, I guess in the entire month of December of '87, they had, now I thought there were multiple Bunkhouse Stampedes, but apparently it was just like battle royals, like without the cage. I don't know. But anyways, they had, I guess, like one almost every fucking night. And so you competed in as many as you could. And I guess at the end of it all, they took the top 7 winners. And apparently this time around, Animal from the Roadwarriors, he was, you know, the leader. I don't know how many he won, but there's like he won the most. And then the 8th spot was going to go to somebody who was, the wild card. They had a wild card battle royal, and the winner of that was automatically thrown in with the other 7 finalists. So the 7 finalists were, you had Roadwarrior Animal, Lex Luger. Representing the Horsemen, you had Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. And then, of course, you had from Paul Jones' army, Ivan Koloff and the Powers of Pain, which was the Barbarian and the Warlord. And then, of course, J.J. Dillon and Paul Jones would, of course, accompany you at the ringside. And then, of course, the wild card winner was Dusty Rhodes. So, there you go. That's how they all got out there. So, let's get to the match itself. I will say right off the bat, the concept's a little weird looking back now. I think if I would have watched this as a kid, I would have bought into it. Because, like, even when you're, like, pro wrestling fans as kids, when you're faced with something that's ridiculously fake, you'll still buy it. Like, you'll find logic in your head somewhere. You'll be like, no, this is how it works. But as an adult watching it, you're kind of like, a battle royal cage match? Like, okay, I could sort of see maybe cramming them through the door, because that's the rules. That's the whole rules of the Bunkhouse Stampede is, you get the cage, you got eliminated either through the door or over the top of the cage. And I'm thinking from a realistic standpoint, if I'm the size of, like, the Warlord or the Barbarian, or even Dusty Rhodes, and, like, you want to get a surefire way to win, you just hang out in the fucking corner. Like, dead weight. Like, no, they're not going to move you at all. They ain't going to be able to work together enough to pick your ass up and lug you to the door, for one, or over the top of the cage. Like, it just seems like this should be one of the easier ones. But I know, like, it's wrestling, so they're going to find excuses to go up the cage and whatever. Tully Blanchard at one point's running away from Animal. Of course, he's climbing up the cage to get away from him. Or, they'll be battling each other, and then they just start climbing together. It's like, and I get it, you go up there to lure someone up there so you can try to weaken them up, throw them over. So, I mean, I don't know. It's not a weird concept. It's a little different. That's all I'm trying to say. But yeah. So, anyway, so that's that. And, of course, the winner of the Bunkhouse Stampede finals, if you will, you get a $500,000 check, which the entire time that number fluctuated with the commentary team. I heard one guy say 5,000 at one point. I could have swore I heard JR say $1 million. It just kept jumping around. But the thing said 500,000. And then you win a boot. That's the trophy, a boot. Not even like a gold plated boot or something bronze. No, it's just a ugly brown boot. Big boot. Big boot. Like the boot that, like, they were going to boot Bart Simpson with on The Simpsons when they went to Australia. That, like, kind of boot. That's the trophy. Alright, I guess. So anyways, so the match itself, a lot of pounding on each other. Like, a lot of punches and kicks. Not a whole lot of wrestling moves. Like, if you're the kind of guy that sits at home and touches himself watching Daniel Bryan and CM Punk matches, this is not your match, because literally not much wrestling going on. It's just, they take the leather belts off and hit each other with them. At one point, Arn Anderson takes his boot off, starts hitting somebody with it. Luger takes the boot and just kind of awkwardly walks around with it, like, I got the boot, I'm going to hit somebody. It's just a lot of oddness like that. The weird thing about this was, too, or at least I found kind of odd. I mean, I guess that, in the realism of things, that, I guess it makes sense, because anything can happen. But, you had 8 wrestlers, but you never had, like, 4 against 4. You know what I mean? Like, you never seen, like, 4 groups of 2 paired off fighting, because it was an odd number of, or it was an off number of heels and faces, because you had, 5 heels and 3 faces. So, like, Luger was feuding with the Horsemen at the time, so, like, Tully and Arn was constantly, I'm just going to call them Brainbusters. I know they're not officially the Brainbusters, but to me, they're the Brainbusters. So you get the Brainbusters working over Luger, and then I just left, like, Animal and Dusty taking on, like, the rest of, like, the Paul Jones faction or whatever. So it was just always, like, an odd number or whatever. But the first 10 minutes or so, no eliminations. Like, literally just a lot of fighting, a lot of bloodshed. Yeah, a lot of awkward attempts to throw people out, though. That was the thing. That's what I mean earlier. Like, it just, like, it was so weird, like, watching, like, I'm going to climb up the cage and hope someone follows me. Oh, here you come. And it's just, like, and someone like Tully Blanchard or even Arn Anderson, like, don't know, I guess they can be tough or whatever, but it's just, like, I don't know, you're there for some big fucking beefy dudes. Like, I just don't see you trying to overpower them over the top. That's all I'm trying to say. But whatever. But anyway, so that's, the gist up for a little bit. The crowd was kind of weird in this match, too, because Like, I think if I was a kid, I'd be going nuts, but like the crowd wasn't really popping a whole lot. Like the only time you heard a big pop was when Dusty Rhodes started beating everybody with the belt, or he has a leather strap he's beating with. Anytime Animal just like break loose every now and then and start whooping ass like hardcore, and the crowd went nuts for that. Like you can tell he was the favorite to win. Like everybody wanted Animal to win because they were going nuts every time he'd get the upper hand. And then of course anytime anybody'd scale the top, because the fans I guess assume that we was going to see a shitload of like Foley / Hardy drops from the top of the cage, and that was not the case. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I guess if I was a kid, I would have been like, oh, it's not the same thing. Like, yeah, we're going to see some crazy falls. But you never saw anything like that. Like, the most you saw, there's only 2 eliminations via over the top cage. Everything else went through the door. But it was never, like, thrown over. They were basically hanging from the cage, kind of low, not top, but then, of course, they'd get hit and they'd drop. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to, talk down about the fall. I mean, that's still a good little drop, and it's concrete. There's no mats or anything, so it's still a decent little fall or whatever, but you can just tell people are expecting to see like a face plant from 15 feet in the air into concrete, and that shit just wasn't going to happen. Ivan Koloff was the first one to be eliminated, and I'm not going to lie, the first time I watched this, which wasn't that long ago, I mean, I'd say it's been good 3 or 4 years ago, maybe a little longer. I didn't really know who Ivan Koloff was. I knew like the name. I knew he was a former WWF champion or WWF champion. But other than that, I didn't know much about him because to me, I didn't see because he was never in WWE or WWF whatever from '85 and up. So he was always in NWA at that time. I didn't know much of him over there. But I knew everybody else. But I knew everybody else mainly from their WWF runs. Like everybody had a good WWF run at one point or another. Or maybe not good, but they had, for me, I was like, yeah, I know these guys from that run. And then I would know more later on. But Ivan Koloff's first one to go. I forget exactly who he eliminates. I just watched it yesterday. But it was either Animal or Dusty Rhodes, I believe. Or it could have been Luger, I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, he gets knocked over the top. Of course, he's hanging on. And he's already pretty low down there, but then he gets clobbered down and then he drops. The next elimination occurs when Animal is trying to push the Warlord out through the cage door. The Warlord, he's trying to push him out. And the Barbarian just comes and boom, big boot, hits Animal. Of course, the momentum knocks Animal and the Warlord out. So double elimination, 2 for the price of 1 there. And I didn't follow NWA, so I don't know if there was ever any heated words between the Barbarian and Warlord. After that, because I know they didn't stay along in NWA, anyways, but I was just curious, like, but then again, like, the prize was $500,000, so I would throw my grandmother out through the door. I'm just saying, that's just me. The next elimination is probably the most ridiculous, like, seriously. So you got the Brainbusters trying to push Luger out through the cage door. Of course, he's fighting them off and shit, like, he ain't having none of that. So Arn decides the good idea would be to step out the cage door himself. Now, the rules was you had to go through the cage or over the top, or through the door or over top the cage, but you had to hit the floor. And you had those like stairs, like little wooden steps that led up to the ring. So Anderson gets out to the cage and gets on the steps because that's still legally he's in. And he starts pulling Luger. He's fucking pulling him. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching this, like, what was your end game here? Like, what possible scenario does this lead to not just an elimination for Luger, but your safety? Like, your non-elimination, because you're pulling like this. Like, there's only 2 ways this could possibly go, is if somehow you're pulling, but you have enough, I guess, dexterity, stamina, to sidestep and throw him out, and assume that he's not just going to snatch your ass and pull you off the steps immediately after. Or he was maybe planning to fucking do a German suplex off the steps, and hopefully Tully would grab his legs to make sure that, yeah, sure, Luger just got hit, and even though Anderson just hit his fucking head on the floor too, I'll pull him back in and it'll be okay. Like, there was just no scenario where this was going to end up good for anybody. But nonetheless, Arn Anderson's pulling Luger, Tully Blanchard's pushing Luger, and at this point, they're all kind of now pretty much on the steps or on the ring apron. And of course, finally, Luger loses his grip, and all 3 tumble out together. That was an elimination. 3 right there, and they all eliminate each other. How fucking... I think to myself, like, if this would have been like the Final 4, like, whoever would have been in their cage would be like, I win. I didn't do shit. So anyways, we're down to Dusty, Rhodes, and the Barbarian. Not much going on here. I mean, just more slugfest. Paul Jones slips in some brass knucks for the Barbarian to use. Real quick side note, I already went past him when I eliminated him, I guess, but why was the Warlord never a top heel? Like, I'm being serious here. Like, he should have been like a main event level heel. Like, he's everything that Vince McMahon loves. Just a massive fucking hulk of a dude. I think his physique was way better than Hogan's. And you can argue like he didn't have the charisma, but I'm like, he was a heel. Like, that alone could have carried him. Just a big nasty heel that beats people up. Like, I just never understood that. Like, you know, the fact that they dropped the ball with the whole tag run anyways always irked me. Like, the early tag run was okay in WWF, you know, the Powers of Pain, Demolition Feud, or whatever. But when I brought the LOD in, I was like, well, there you go. Like, now we get Roadwarrior. Again, of course, I didn't know at the time, but knowing now what I know then, like, they had their feud in NWA. You could have rekindled that whole Powers of Pain versus Road Warriors there. If you wanted to do Demolition first, you could have had Demolition fight Road Warriors or Legion of Doom, and then have the Powers of Pain whoop up on everybody else, build themselves up, so then whenever LOD runs through Demolition, boom, they're going to meet Powers of Pain. But they fucked that all up completely. We didn't get nothing close to that. Ridiculous. But then they split them up, and I just remember thinking, even as a kid, like, they gave him 2 completely looking gimmicks. Like, Barbarian looked like an actual, like, North American, like, he had like the deer antlers, and I don't know, it was odd. He had like a whole kind of Barbarian thing going on there, but then Warlord had like a Phantom of the Opera, like a metal Phantom of the Opera kind of thing going on. I thought he looked great. I remember even as a kid thinking, like, dude, he's gonna be a force to be reckoned with. Like, I was like, first, second grade thing, like, this guy's gonna eventually be the top dog, and he never rose above like lower mid card ever. I don't know, just it boggles my mind, but. Whatever. He got a main event shot here at least. At least he's on the main event here, so at one point I guess it was looking up for him. But anyway, so we're down to Barbarian and Rhodes, and eventually they both climb the cage together and they're trying to eliminate each other, and finally Dusty gets Barbarian up and over, and boom, bionic elbow, Barbarian falls, but he grabs onto the top and he's pulling himself up and he's met with another elbow, and Barbarian just falls. It was a weird fall too, because he falls and it's like he's sliding down the cage. Like, you can see his pants getting caught on the fucking, you know, chain link fence and shit, and then he just spills right there on the floor. So yeah, and Dusty Rhodes wins. So Dusty Rhodes wins it. Pull off the hat trick, because apparently he won the previous 2 Bunkhouse Stampedes. And when I watched it the first time, I didn't know anything about it, so I was just like, oh yeah, alright, Dusty Rhodes wins. Like, yeah, I knew he was a big deal, I knew he was a former world champion and shit, so I mean, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. It wasn't until like just recently I realized that, you know, not only was like the Bunkhouse Stampede like his brainchild, like, you know, backstage he created this match, but he was also the booker during the time of all this. So like, he was literally just kind of writing these matches up like, you know, I'm going to win this. Like, that's all there is to it. So I imagine that's probably one of the reasons that like we never saw another one of these. Like, aside from the fact that it's just kind of a ridiculous match concept anyways, it's also the fact that like Dusty Rhodes is just like, I win. Like, no matter what, I win. So yeah, that's probably the one big reason. Of course, again, he did leave WWF, or sorry, left for the WWF shortly afterwards. So that could have been it too, I guess. I don't know. But so yeah, he won the boot and he won the $500,000. So that was the Bunkhouse Stampede. Let's get to the fallout, shall we? Well, Luger, who was, because he was a former member of the Horsemen, was feuding with the Brainbusters, or not just Brainbusters, but he's feuding with, you know, the entire group, the Horsemen. But he would team up with Barry Windham to take on the Brainbusters for the tag titles and win. And so they won the titles and everything. But during the rematch, when the Brainbusters came back for those titles, Barry Windham screwed over Luger, cost him not only the titles, but he would also go on to join the 4 Horsemen as well. So Luger was still, once again, kind of the odd man out, battling the Horsemen on his own. But he continued to do it, kept fighting through him. Eventually got himself a #1 contender shot for the world title, and would face Ric Flair at Great American Bash. But that will be another topic for another episode, so we'll skip past that. With the Brainbusters, you know, they had the tag titles, and so at the Great American Bash, they met up with Sting and Nikita Koloff. Which I think the match ended in a time limit draw. I'm not for sure. Either way, I know the Brainbusters retained. But yeah, it was them. Dusty Rhodes, he was the U.S. champion going into the Bunkhouse Brawl. Sorry, the Bunkhouse Stampede. I don't know if he lost it to Barry Windham or if there was someone in between them, but either way, by the time Great American Bash rolled around, Barry Windham was the United States champion, and Dusty went to go retain that, or to regain that title from him, and yeah, it didn't turn out good for him. Didn't win it. So, and then yeah, I think the last kind of fallout from this was Roadwarrior Animal and Ivan Koloff was on opposite ends at Great American Bash. They were in a part of a 10-man Tower of Doom match, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the triple cage, but like the triple cage from the Hulkamania, the Alliance to End Hulkamania Doomsday match or whatever they had against Savage and Hogan, like uncensored. Not the David Arquette 3 cages, the equal size cages going up. But I don't know. I'd never seen this. I don't know. Maybe it was different back in the 80s or whatever. But yeah, but the Road Warriors and their team ended up winning on that one. So, so yeah, that's the fallout. So, what did I think personally of this match? I enjoyed it. You know what? I'll be honest with you. Going into it, I had my doubts. Once again, I just remember making fun of so much and kind of forgetting that was what I was doing. Like, once again, if you were like, hey, Daniel, what do you think about the Bunkhouse Stampede pay-per-view? Because I watched the whole pay-per-view when I watched it last night. I only watched the main event this time. But I was just like, yeah, it sucked. The whole thing sucked. And, and I forgot that I was really just fucking with it because my cousin liked it so much and I was just trying to stick one of him. So, yeah, watching now, it wasn't bad. Once again, I got to see a lot of my favorite wrestlers. I mean, it's kind of cool to see, Barbarian, Warlord, on a main event type level. Along with Animal and them. But yeah, other than that, I mean, the match itself, I mean, I can see why it's no longer, in use or ever brought back or anything like that. However, it is what it is, and yeah, it's entertaining. I was entertained by this match, so yeah. You haven't seen it, check it out, just for the sheer novelty of it, I guess. But yeah, that's about it. Thumbs up on this one. So. Tune in next week, or no, tomorrow night. Tune in. We're going to go back to WWF, and yeah, we're going to be doing WrestleMania 4. So, oh yeah. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.